Hey buddy, like they say in Sweden. Today there's no album review, as you pretty much figure from the description box or the topic of this video. Today I'm reviewing ZINE, that is Metal Fanzine, which is first time in a way for Rauta channel. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about me or my reading experience, I've never been a big ZINE reader. I've of course read here and there for the past 20 some years, but I've never been much of a, say, collector in that sort or very dedicated reader. I mean, I enjoy when I read good book or magazine or fanzine, doesn't really matter what's the format. But as it so often is, those too many fanzines are just copy-paste questions which end up having kind of a lame interviews, and sometimes while there's passion, lots of that in the order of doing the interviews, many of them are not very well conducted. I mean, it's kind of it seems like the whole thing is just cheap ass copy pasting, like here are 10 questions to this band, whatnot. Then the answers are just right away there without any kind of editing, maybe not even kind of background checking, any kind of preparation. Then again, who I am to judge? When I do interviews, for example, for Rauta, I rarely go deep into the background checks, but I have reasons for that. But when I want to read something on a sign, I mean, I don't expect great journalism, and to be honest, I don't care that much. But that is also the reason why I don't read so many signs. Whenever I get a copy of nice fanzine and there's a cool interview, sure, I read it and all that stuff. And of course, you don't get to read really underground bands on bigger metal magazines and whatnot, not to mention blogs and all that stuff. So I'm very happy that today I can be ultra positive. This is one of those one of the stuff here. I mean, be it CD, vinyl, book, whatever, I can totally go like, this is 5 out of 5 star material. So without further ado, Bardo Methodology, ZINE or fanzine, issues 2 and 3 here together. I was lucky to be contacted by the guy behind the magazine and website also, Swedish guy called Niklas Göransson. I don't know how he has the energy, time, passion and all that stuff to put this stuff here between the big stack of pages, but he has done just simply great, awesome job. Now, before I get into details, let's take a quick look how these issues look like. Let's start with the issue number 2, because there are 2 or 3, and just to give you a little bit of a glimpse into these issues. So this is a typical 2-page view to the design. There's a kind of editorial text. There's the basic information like this has been printed. Well, there's no information how many. So I think the other one was like 300 copies. And when we go further into interviews, nice imagery, quite small font on a A4 size paper, which actually means quite a lot of text. Quite a nice use of black and white imagery and so forth. There are lots of interesting bands. What I can say is like, oh, by the way, there's a poster with some of these limited. I mean, the first 300 some have these. Oh yeah, there's this information. I'm so forgetful. 2,000 copies, and the first 500 copies are numbered and included posters. I was lucky to get number 48. So what I'm trying to say here is that this just, when you just browse it, might look like just an average design, except that, the font is bit small, you know, and there's a lot of imagery. The quality of the fanzine is really good, and by really good I mean, okay, let's give this was this Manuel Road? Yeah, Manuel Road interview here. I tried to give it so close to the zoom. As you can see, this print quality is great. Be it photo or hand-drawn picture, it is, make no mistakes, this is not some cheap ass Xerox copy. Everything is just like very detailed here, be it, you know, these kind of pictures, or even, you know, these kind of images with written text. You can see everything is, you know, great quality, easy to read if you don't mind the little small font, but at least, I mean, I have eyesight problems with my other eye, and I can easily read this. I don't need glasses, not that I have those, but anyway, and bigger pictures look obviously awesome. So, you know, printing wise, this is a good quality. But of course, what matters the most is that what lies in these 460 some pages. This is, by the way, the list of the issue number 2. As you can see, pretty underground names here. Some of them are great, just, you know, bands, as you can see. Metal Road being a little bit kind of an exception to this rule, other being mostly black metal names. But anyway, there's like Bobby Boo Solea interview, which is actually in 2 parts, in number 2 and issue number 3, which is great because it's very lengthy. It would have taken too much space maybe in one issue. Anyway, this is some 60 pages, and it's a very small font. So which actually, if you would just take it in A5 size, this would be a book, especially if you just make a font size a little bit bigger. Now, before I go to the quality, I'm gonna just basically give you the same idea of this other issue number 3, which looks like that. This is also some 300 copies, and 400 comes with a poster. So, and there is the index, which, by the way, curiously enough, is on the in the end of the fanzine issue. So you can see pretty interesting names, not just, you know, black metal, but also some more mainstreamish name, like there's Phil Anselmo, and then there's like King Dude, which is more like, you know, this kind of American folk and whatnot. So we can pretty much just, based on these 2 issues, that the quality is great. You know, you can read the text, the pictures are great, the interviews are lengthy, and this is even longer than the issue number 2, being almost 70 pages. So these 2 could be, well, in one package, could be a book. So the real question is, what lies inside? Are these interviews any good? And the reason why I said this is 5 out of 5 star material is that, in fact, those interviews are really, really high quality. The kind of a type of journalism you might end up having in, you know, really professional magazines, which are not just, you know, fan-based material. Clearly, many of these interviews lead the reader to a point where he or she figures out that there's a lot of background checking done prior to these interviews. There are lots of questions, ponderings, and even opinions by Mr. Jurgenson that he has actually gone really deep with some of the topics. And also, when the interviewee actually replies to the question with something that might be worth explaining, like when these topics go really deep into certain areas that demand expertise, say, be it about occult, be it about life beyond death, or just whatever. It might be technological issue, whatever. These are always explained, so you don't have to read these rather complex topics by having Wikipedia on your phone, iPad, or computer, which would be kind of lame. But these are also way deeper interviews, like I said, so they actually require the reader to be quite, say, well read, or being kind of up to date to about today's life, metal scene in general. These are not kind of entry level issues. These are not the type of like, hi, I've been into metal scene for 2 years. I want to read about some black metal bands, and then they're like, wow. What these guys are babbling about. It might be some stuff about like 70s or 80s. It might be some creating some weird ass sound technology, you know, equipment, like in the Bobby Boozalel interviews. Also, there were some like virtual reality topics and how this world might be just, a simulation. In the Inquisition interview, I'm a little bit more familiar with that rather than these technological devices. On the musical side, in, built inside a prison and all that stuff. But rest assured, there are many different topics, and no interview is like each other. Um, Even though there are some topics like sleep paralysis, which seem to be kind of like a kind of recurring ideas and topics, which Mr. Göransson likes to have a conversation with. But then again, that kind of creates a nice continuation from one interview or even one issue to another, which then again is nice to see a different kind of replies to these kind of ideas. Also, the selection of these interviews here are nice because the thing is, while some of the bands are just, black metal after black metal and so forth, it's clear that some of these guys are more, say, atypical people. They are not the normal type. They're very bizarre, very kind of a unusual breed, even for metal personalities. So there are lots of, discussion about very kind of a deep topics, especially when it comes to the occult, religious matters, spirituality, and all that stuff. So all these ideas differ very much from one band to another. While, for example, this Inquisition interview was all about, kind of this virtual reality stuff, if I remember correctly, and also, the band member's life in Colombia when he was like teenager and all that stuff. Some other interview, like Portal interview, for example, was about having weird stuff in their band house, which was the rehearsal room, but the kind of a place they were like, living and spending their time in a very atypical way. Also, then there are like lots of talks about like drugs. For example, Philip Anselmo has quite a bit of knowledge about that, also being dead for a few minutes. And also, very different topics from one band to another. Say, Vomitor might be about, having beer drinking, mayhem causing old school death metal guys, Australia already like 1980s and 1990s. And then some other band is all about, kind of deeper spiritualism and whatnot. So all these interviews are quite different from one another. Some go more about music, some just don't say that much about it, and some just go beyond philosophical basic questions and all that stuff. So all in all, very, very interesting read, especially to me when I'm not that interested to read in a, say, metal magazine like, so how was your new album composed? Did you have a hard time creating those riffs? I am not interested. It is very boring. Most boring stuff one can actually ask a musician how hard it is to create riffs as you have been creating, or was it hard to do that drum sound and blah blah. It's lamest of the lame. And rest assured, there are none of those stupid questions within these pages. Now, prior to having these issues for read and review, I actually had heard some good stuff about Bardo Methodology, but I had no idea, no personal experience. And to be honest, I wanted to have kind of a virgin-like experience when I went to read these issues. So I didn't do background checking like how does the website look like and all that stuff. And exactly fun thing is to mention that I read every single interview in both of these ZINEs. So it took me more time, because I'm a kind of a slow reader, and I also usually read like, okay, I'll go to take a toilet trip, or when I'm eating, or maybe sometimes I just take a sit on my couch and read a couple of pages and all that stuff. So also I don't usually go from the first page to the last page. I just skip stuff when they are not that interesting. But out of sheer curiosity how these interviews were done and edited into being proper articles, like I said, in a professional way. Not to mention the language that is used here is way more complex and not so basic stuff like on my channel, for example. So that kind of creates this very interesting environment in a way. And in that sense, I really enjoyed reading them very through. It took me more time than I expected to be taken, but like I said, small font, lots of pages, deeper topics, which kind of take some time in order to like figure out what's going on. And maybe some bands I started to like a little bit more after reading about them in an interview, and some bands it's just like I had to take even more distance, like, well, these guys are so deep in that end that they're not probably my cup of tea. But so that's another story. What can I say is that I'm really happy about it, both of these issues. I'm really looking forward to getting issue number 4, which I hope Mr. Göransson is sending me later on, because we had a little chat about prior to making this video about like I'm finished with reading and I really liked what I read. So if you ever need to buy just one fanzine about metal music, underground or otherwise, this would be my recommendation. Of course, it's just my opinion, but I find it very hard to get the idea that someone would be disappointed in the material that lies within these pages. I mean, of course, there is no perfection. There is no perfect metal album in the first place. So there is no perfect fanzine either. But this is goddamn close to it, at least. I don't find basically anything to complain. But if I could pick one, just one thing, maybe the editorial text would be nicer to have a longer and more stuff in it, because it's clear that the maker of these ZINEs is intelligent person. He also understands a lot about metal music and does his homework very well. So it would be kind of nice to have more of his text, if at least one page, or maybe a sort of a editorial column, kind of a page full of his thoughts. But really, no complaints. So get a grasp of one of these ZINEs. Go check out the website. Maybe you like it. I mean, what I've been told, his album reviews, which are not in the ZINEs, are totally different from mine. I am, what I'm told, more on the surface level, when on the other hand he goes deeper. And I have no problems with that. It's good that some people go deeper, because I just barely touch the surface, give you the basic idea what an album is all about and all that stuff. And for some people it's alright, some people want to know more, but I think it's people's responsibility to do that trip to deeper parts. But like I said, I think there is room for more than this, more than me, more than just the whole world. Anyhow, like I said, grab your copy of Bardo Methodology, and I can pretty much guarantee you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, and as always, should you have any comments, questions, opinions, whatever, boom, drop them on the box below. See you soon, and bye bye.